I've already streamed on Instagram Live today, which turned out super simple and easy. And it was so frustrating. The whole time I was streaming with no microphone on YouTube. Hi, everybody. But I've decided that I was going to answer a question that I had. Originally, the first title for this video was there ever a point in time where you had bad luck and you thought about giving up and going back to Chicago? I had shortened it a little bit because there's only so many characters allowed in a title. So here's the answer. No. There was a time that I almost moved back to Chicago, but it wasn't because of things not necessarily working out and wanting to give up, because I didn't really have anything to give up. I never auditioned for any commercials until like 2013, or no, not even. It was like, I think 2014. It was before Gamefront ended, and it was when we were still in the office when I first did my first auditions. But what it was when I almost did move home, it was because there was a girl, and this girl had, gosh, it's such a long story, and it's a private story, but here's how it goes. I studied improv, and the person who taught me in high school was an incredible human being. I'm not going to give any names because while everybody's incredible in the story, some of these things are pretty private stories, and I don't know. I don't know if it's appropriate to tell the names of people. Okay, I will. So, Craig Kingston, best improv coach I could have asked for in high school. I've had a couple better coaches since, but in all fairness, he's a teacher at a public, high school, teaching improv, and inspired me and changed my life. His niece, Seneca, I was in love with in high school. Never tried to date her. I never asked her out, never anything. But I always just loved her. And I think part of the reason was because she was the niece of the guy that taught me improv, and I just anything. Like, I was such a huge fan of him. He changed my life. But when I was in college, I was studying theater, and I never really wanted to do movies. I never really wanted to do TV. I didn't want to do commercials. I wanted to do improv live. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And I studied at Second City, and I was doing live shows in Chicago. And Seneca moved to Los Angeles right out of high school. That's where she decided to go to college, and she was studying at Second City in LA. And I decided that I was just going to pack it all up and move to LA, and one way or the other, she'd fall in love with me, and we'd live happily ever after. But so I did move out, and I moved out, and I knew nobody in Los Angeles. I wasn't pursuing acting in the sense of, doing commercials or movies. I was really trying to do improv, and I figured, well, LA's a big town and there's not a lot of improv going on there. We'll be able to make a great show doing improv in LA. So when we did, and we actually had some pretty cool shows. We had some shows that I was really proud of, and we became very good friends. But I never really got the guts to ask her out. I never got the guts to try to make anything come of it. Which I was always such a nice guy. I'm not shy. I'm outgoing, but it was just, I don't know. I had hinted at it, and it was pretty clear that it was like, we're just friends. And it's like, okay. But years later, probably 4 or 5 years later, after I'd moved here, maybe even 6 or 7, she went on vacation, and she ended up getting pregnant when she was on vacation, unexpected, and didn't, like, the father lived in the place that she was vacationing at. And when she came back, and she told me, I guess I was one of the last people. She knew I liked her a lot, and she apparently didn't like me back, or wanted me to have the courage to ask her out. I don't know. But nonetheless, she knew well enough that when she was breaking it to me, she knew it was going to be pretty hard. Also, she was one of my best friends, and she was telling me she's moving back to Chicago to raise this baby in our hometown, Crystal Lake. So at the time, I had thought it through, and it was a crazy idea. And I was like, I'll move back with you, and I will raise the child together with you as if it were my own. And while I don't know if she ever really legitimately even considered it, but the answer was no. And the answer that she gave me, she said she wouldn't let me make that sacrifice, which in retrospect I am so thankful, because I have a life that I'm so blessed to live. At the time, I didn't like. I felt pretty lost. I was like, "What am I doing out in L.A.?" Like, but nonetheless, I wasn't gonna give up, because I had built an improv community out here. It was before the West Side Comedy Theater was in, and it was before the West Side Eclectic was out here, which one day would turn into the West Side Comedy Theater. It was before Upright Citizens Brigade came to L.A. It was right around the time that Improv Olympic was out here. So I stuck it out here, and it wasn't until 2013 that I even got the idea that I'd start pursuing doing acting on a professional level, where I was doing a Bear Supply improv festival at it was, I guess, 2014. It was at Las Vegas, and Aaron Krebs, one of the owners of Mission Improbable, was there with us. I think he was doing his two-man show called Elevator, and he was chewing my at-time girlfriend, now wife's, ear off about, like, why doesn't James do a audition for stuff? Why doesn't he do commercials? And and he was like, oh, you can make so much money. And once she heard that, she put the pressure on. And I'll tell you, I'm really glad that she did, because I ended up getting an agent. And that agent, when I first got it, was in like 2014. And that's when I still worked at Gamefront, and not just for Gamefront, but at the building. We were in Hollywood. I guess it was probably mid-Wilshire. I don't know if it's considered Hollywood. It was at the SAG building. And the problem was, the first year that I had an agent, I didn't want to even do that stuff. Like, I had a job playing video games, making YouTube videos. It was the best. So I didn't really, when I'd go to these auditions, I was kind of sneaking away. Now, I didn't necessarily, I don't remember for sure, but I don't think I needed to lie to Mitch and Zach. Those guys would have had my back no matter what. They were like brothers, or are like brothers in many ways. But I certainly was telling my upper management and bosses that I was just taking a lunch break, and I'd go on these auditions. And sometimes when you go to an audition, you can get in there, and at the very least, it's going to take you 30 minutes. At the very least, you're going to sign in, spend 5 minutes waiting. If you're lucky, go in, do 10 minutes of like acting, and then you're out and you're done. But a lot of times, especially non-union, and when I first started acting, these non-union auditions, sometimes you'd go in at your time for your thing. You'd be like, oh, I've got a 12 o'clock audition. I'll get there to like 11:50, sign in. You'll wait an hour and a half before you even get into the audition to begin performing for the guy behind the camera. And I was showing up at these places, like being like, oh, I've got an hour lunch break and I'm sweating. This is before I had a car, so I'm skateboarding and busing to places. And I'm just like, I gotta get out of here. I can't do this audition. I would never say that, but I had this attitude of, I don't want to be here right now. And I never booked anything, and I was fine with that. It wasn't until I lost my job at Gamefront and I had nothing else going on where I could sit down inside of, the casting office, and the only thing I had to worry about, and I wouldn't even say worry about, the only thing I had to think about was being present and getting ready for an audition, which I got pretty lucky. I booked some work and whatnot. I can't say that there's ever been a time where I would consider giving up because of a run of bad luck. And I think it's partly because I had 100 auditions before I booked my first gig. And I just realized it's a numbers game. I booked work that I felt like my audition was not very good. I definitely feel like I've booked more things that I didn't deserve and lost things that I did deserve. So it's not a matter of talent. It's whether or not you look the part and whether or not when you walk into an audition, you look like somebody that they want to, not just look, but you have that energy of somebody that they want to hang out on set with. You got to be cool. You got to be friendly. So when I changed that part of my attitude, it kind of changed all of auditioning for me. I would say that sometimes it is tempting to think like, oh, I could live in the suburbs of Chicago and it would be so much cheaper to live there than it is to live in LA. But I love LA so much because of the different opportunities of people with like-minded creative intentions. And I know there's a lot of creative people in Chicago also, but there is a much a better platform out here for us to all stand on together and try to rise up. So I've never really thought about moving home because I didn't believe I was going to make it, because I feel like I've already, at least in my original intent, when I first moved out to LA, I never intended to make it. I didn't think I was going to do commercials or movies or TV. I wanted to do improv, and I wanted to make a name for myself in improv. And, well, I got to tour with Mission Improbable at colleges, and that was the #1 college touring company in the country for the one of the years that I was on there. Years before, I was there too. So that was before Alchemy This. And I felt at that point in time, I was like, okay, I've done the college tours. I've done as much as I could really ask for with improv, and that's always been my goal. And then cherry on top, Alchemy This. Which I'm so lucky for, because not only is it the most talented group of people I've gotten a chance to work with, but it's the only outlet I have right now. Stages are closed. My original goal of just doing live performances in front of people, well, that's dead in the water these days. But it is nice that I'm able to do the podcast. It's not quite as easy as being in the studio, but God, it's the most rewarding thing. I'm so thankful that I have the ability every Wednesday to record a couple improv shows. Thank you guys for all hanging out. I'm glad that I was able to do day 3 of Sochtember. If you guys have questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm in the chat. I'm going to be trying to do also Instagram. So if you don't see me every day here, you could follow me. I'm The Real James Heaney on Instagram. I don't know if it's as fun for you to watch something on Instagram, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing more live stuff on there. See ya.